right before I started shooting the movie, we wrote the part for Charles. His name is, he wore face paint, so he was known as Mask in the MMA world. Everyone knew him as Mask. He was famous. And we wrote the part for Mask to be the promoter of this tournament. And right before I started shooting, he got killed.
Oh my God.
And it was heartbreaking, and I tried to recast the part, and then a couple of friends who knew how close we were said, dude, you should just like, we'll rewrite the part, and you should play this part in honor of Charles, and that's the only reason I did it.
Wow. I had no idea. So you, where did you come up with the original idea for this?
I have a hard time answering that, because I don't, it's such an unintellectual thing.
Mm-hmm.
making move, or just coming up with. It was almost like I had something was going on inside of me that there would need to be like this exorcism that had to just come out. I don't know what it was. There were personal things with, I guess, my own childhood with brothers and father, and that I'm still dealing with maybe, and I needed to somehow explore through my art. I was dealing with real understanding of forgiveness that I think people use the word forgiveness in a way that is easy, but true forgiveness in your heart is a lot more difficult than saying, I forgive you.
There's a lot of pain in this movie. And the actors brought a lot of pain. And Nick Nolte brought a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And the thing, too, that you did was that you managed to make something that could have been very contrived. Two brothers in the ring, you made it believable. You made the stakes believable. They both needed to win. And how they got there, believable. But that must have been very difficult.
It was, it's interesting they both needed to win. What I was going for, I call the movie an intervention in a cage. And one brother needs to die at the hands of another brother. And the trick was, what I always said to the studio, the hardest part of this film is going to be, in an unconscious way, the audience, because your audience is rooting for Brendan and they're rooting for Tommy. And they're rooting for Brendan and they're rooting for Tommy. And they keep rooting for them until, now they're going to fight each other. And that you haven't seen in one of these movies before, because you usually know who you're rooting for the whole time.
As an audience member, you actually are aware of it when you get there.
When you get there, meaning like
when you're faced with the two of them against each other,
right.
And I suspect that most people pick the same guy.
Well, this was the trick to the movie, was because the audience has to unconsciously, because I think things start happening, because there's not a lot of time to think about, like, well, I like this, I like that, but in a way, the trick was Brendan needs to win. Tommy needs to lose to win. Tommy's win is losing.
But we're not going to give this away, are we?
Oh, I don't know what I don't know. I'm not quite. I didn't know that I was giving it. I didn't know what this was.
So we're not going to give it away.
Okay.
I'll edit that. I see what you mean. So you're.
I didn't know. I wasn't sure how. So nothing's being edited here, or how
I'll edit it.
Okay.
I'll edit it. I'll definitely edit it. And I also okay. So Lionsgate, they gave you carte blanche on the casting. What kind of freedom did you have? That's never happened in the history of the universe.
Well, they did. You know what? I have to give them credit.
Because the casting was everything here.
It was everything. When I sat down with them, I said, I don't want to use movie stars. I want actors that you've never heard of. And I cast these guys. Tommy, before I hadn't even seen Bronson yet. That hadn't been to Sundance, so that was pre-Bronson. So Joel was just this Australian actor. I'd never seen him in anything. So they agreed to that, unbelievably.
Aren't they glad now?
I know.
It's amazing. These two guys have become, each of them, in a weird parallel way, they have become the two go-to guys for major parts in Hollywood, because they're so masculine, because they're such good actors. What do you think is going on there? Why these two guys? What is it about them that is pushed them forward?
Well, it's interesting, because they become these two guys, and the movie hasn't even come out yet, which says a lot about how our system works, Hollywood. because
everybody in Hollywood knows.
So people in flyover states or whatever, they may not be as aware, but in Hollywood, these guys are, as you said, like they're the two hot young guys. But it's fascinating to me because the movie could come out and make $4 in the box office, and then it comes to an end. You know what I mean? Like, but yet they've already been anointed. It's interesting. Where you're not anointed after the films come out, it's successful, so it's happened before that. So it's a fascinating sort of...
Well, Tom has the Batman, movies, which give him a certain... But he's not a movie star yet.
But he even got those before. Yeah, a lot of those are based on what's in the can, right? It's interesting. It's an interesting thing. I think audiences are starving for something new. I think audiences are starving for not only new actors, I think audiences are starting for new movies that maybe, what I was trying to do was hopefully do something original. I see so many films, it's just the superhero movies, they're just these sort of what I call Mick movies, by the numbers kind of stuff. And I think we're actually coming out at a time where people just want something new.
Now, you've gotten some pretty damn good performances out of actors in the past, and these performances are really great.
Thank you.
But it was obviously important to you that the drama behind the fighting be as important as the fighting, and that it all be legitimately earned. Yeah. So, how did you manage to orchestrate that?
Well, part of my, before I hire an actor, and they'll attest to this, I'm really clear about I have a process that I just need to go through. And it requires actors to not, and I hear this all the time, actors, you just kind of show up and you just do your thing. But I really believe you make the movie before you make the movie. So we workshop, we do character biographies, we connect emotional lines between everybody, we work out everybody's backstory. And then we do improvisational work. I don't know how to do it any other way because I think you just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and that's just so. If actors don't want to do that, then I'm just the wrong guy to work with and it's also selfish for me because when I start doing that, then all of a sudden I'll say to my production designer, he likes the color blue. He likes daisies. She's has an aversion to it. Comes out of character, which informs so many other things.
Now, did Lionsgate say, why do we have to have a Brit and an Aussie? Are they going to do the English American accent? Right? Why can't you find some masculine American? What's the deal with American actors not being as masculine? What is it? It's true. We know it's true.
It's like I call them doily actors. They're like doilies. It's weird. Yeah, I know. I believe me, I met a lot of American actors. I tried. I couldn't find... there were very specific qualities for each of these guys that I needed, and I couldn't find it in anyone here. I couldn't. And I saw hundreds, I'm not exaggerating, hundreds of